Hi guys, good evening. Hope you are staying safe and healthy. So today's session is going to be about mastering light for fashion and advertising photography, advertising and commercial as such. So I would request you to post questions and queries related to fashion and commercial photography. And in particular, we can discuss about lighting as such. And from there, we can, in fact, in general, you can ask me questions, anything to do with fashion photography in general. And let's start the session. Uh, the first step I would always recommend photographers to do is to understand the natural light. Sunlight is our one source of light that we work most of the time. Uh, in terms of like if you are shooting outdoors without using, let's say, supplementary lights as such, but if you really want to understand lighting and master the art of lighting, it starts with understanding the sunlight or daylight. So that's our only source of light, and the same source reflects onto the moon, and that's what like becomes a reflector during the night. So first step I would always say is you should understand and master natural light, and that's where it all starts. ब्रिजेश वांट्स मी टू स्पीक इन हिंदी. ब्रिजेश, अगर आपको कोई पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन है तो हिंदी में मैं आपको एक्सप्लेन कर सकता हूँ. क्योंकि सारे देश से लोग यहाँ पे पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं, तो इंग्लिश इज मोर रिलेवेंट टू पीपल टू अंडरस्टैंड. सो आई स्टिक टू इंग्लिश. अगर आपको कुछ ऐसा पर्टिकुलर इंक्वायरी है तो उसको मैं हिंदी में क्लियर कर सकता हूँ. So the first step I always say is like you need to understand daylight. So one of the like primary exercises that I myself when I started out as a photographer did was working first with daylights. So first understand the daylight and work with daylight. It can be a like a very interesting exercise that I did to understand light better was to like venture out and spend a whole day, starting from, let's say, before the sunrise till like late into post sunset. So you what you do as an exercise is like spend your entire day probably like shooting from morning till evening. Then once you come back and look at the pictures, you really understand how the light behaves. So here you will understand different aspects of light. So one is basically like we are always talking about harsh light and like hard light and soft light. So this is the quality of light. So one aspect of light is the quality of light. Then comes the like quantity of light, which basically has to do with our aperture and exposure. So where what is the amount of light that is falling on the subject. So these are two aspects. Then there is the direction of light. So if you spend an entire day shooting pictures from like early morning till late evening, so that will give you a whole understanding of how the sunlight really behaves throughout the day. And there's also the aspect of color temperature. So when you start out in the early morning, if you, let's say it's a sunrise, there's a lot of warm light. So then it picks on to become really cool during the noon, and the color temperature really drifts away. So that's what really happens. And once you like again go towards evening, it becomes warm. So these are the aspects that any photographer has to really understand before venturing out, exploring, let's say, strobe lights or continuous lights or any of these things. So first, start your lighting or like mastering light with daylight. So which is like abundantly available, and you start shooting with that. Then you have to critically understand analyzing your own pictures. So this is what really helps you understand the quality and all the aspects of light as such. Okay, as a demand. Okay. So particularly, I have a, someone wants me to speak in Hindi, but so what is your question? So if you have a particular question, then probably, I can take it up and speak in Hindi. So that will be a thing. So I'm basically running these slides so that you have any particular questions relating to these slides, so we can pick on that and probably talk about that. That will also help me understand what you are actually looking for, and I also understand that here we have a huge spectrum of people coming from a lot of wedding photographers. There is a lot of let's say different genres of photography. So I would like to understand what kind of questions or what kind of queries does the audience have. So can we have some questions that really is something which you really want to know and understand? So how would I, let's say, how would I approach lighting for a particular? See, one of the big questions always people have is like, how different is lighting for fashion, and how and what about commercial photography? Does it make a world of difference, or is it uh, how do you really decide or work on the light? Okay. See, somebody is asking me to show behind the scene if possible. See, this is what I see. I have not really documented this as video while I shoot, because most of the time I'm shooting commercial work, so I can't really make videos of what I shoot. So I would say, if you particularly want to, let's say the slide that you see right now, this was actually shot in UB City. This is in Bangalore. So there's a mix of daylight as well as strobe lights that I'm using in that. So that's what I could say. Okay. Somebody has a question: how to start career in fashion photography? See, number one, I always say that first you need to build a portfolio. So, what is a portfolio is what you would showcase to your prospective clients. So, prospective clients for a fashion photographer is primarily the fashion world. It can be for catalogs, it can be for promotions, it can be for advertising, and also editorial who shoot like what you see in magazines as such. So you'll have to first build a good portfolio. So good portfolio starts with primarily, you'll have to experiment and shoot a lot of pictures and have a very powerful portfolio that you can share with your clients. So this is how you can start your career. And before that, probably you'll have to spend a lot of time learning the nuances of lighting, composition, and fashion. Also, you really need to learn fashion. That's a very important aspect that you need to understand the fashion trends and what is in vogue. So one of the best things you should do is to read and follow a lot of international magazines and even Indian fashion magazines as such. So that will give you the latest update about what's in vogue, what is the kind of lighting or the pictures that is very much on the cover of a magazine. So that is what is probably the trendsetter. So that will help you a lot. Yeah, I have Suhail asking me a question. Can you please share your thoughts about single light photography, say using the AD200 Pro? Yes, Suhail. If you look at my pictures, most of them are actually shot with one single light. So I work a lot with single light, because my understanding of lighting is, when you really have to create something which is very natural. So as we look at sunlight, see, we are exposed from our childhood till our death to one single source of light. So sun is our only source of light, and if we can really replicate and recreate something around that one light, it is always magical. So one light is definitely something very useful, and definitely you should work with it. And yes, you can work with 8200. 8200 is a very powerful light if you really know how to work around with it. Probably it is not as powerful as an 8600 Pro to underexpose the sunlight. But one of the features about all these battery operated flashes and most of the Godox has high speed sync. So even with a 200 you can like shoot at 8,000 of a second, and this is something which is very vital when you are shooting outdoors. So that will also give you two things. One is like you can underexpose the sky. Another aspect is it will also help you shoot with very shallow depth of field, so your background can always go out of focus. So that's something which we do very much often in fashion photography as such, fashion pictures. Okay, I'm just going through the questions. Okay, as a fresher, how do I create a portfolio? Yes, this is something like all of us have to somewhere start. So I would first say, like once you feel that yes, I have mastered the skills of shooting good pictures. So initially, you can work around with anybody. It doesn't. You don't need a supermodel to post for you to learn. So use anybody that is available. Shoot people, make them pose. Like one of the aspects of fashion photography, very vital is see, one aspect is definitely your technical prowess plus your creative skills in terms of lighting and all of this. But people miss out on understanding that very important tool for a fashion photographer or anybody who's a people photographer is to have the skill of directing your model. So this is like like how a director would direct an artist. So you need to learn the skill. So this is very much to do with interpersonal skill. So you might be amazing with your skill, but if you can't really communicate with your model, then you're really missing out on getting the best out of that model. So that is one of the first things that you'll have to work on. See, once you are like mastered your skill as a photographer, then start shooting pictures with probably like amateur models, upcoming actors, models. All of these people are available, and they're also looking for building their own portfolio. So you don't really need a like a celebrity or let's say a superstar to be there in your portfolio. That's not really what will get you the work. It's your skill that's going to get you work. So try and work with upcoming models and build a portfolio around that. So that should be a good start. So people see, let's say if you approach a client, so what is he looking at? Yes, definitely. If you have a like a celebrity, that's a like a eyeballs are going to pop. But end of the day, it's are you really able to deliver? Are you able to give them that good work? So that's what clients are looking for. So I feel you can work around that. And as I said, like upcoming models and actors are also looking for good pictures for themselves and portfolios. So that's how you can work on that. Okay, see, there is a question which is about can I synchronize speed light of Canon with AD200? See, in general, if you any speed light, if you go the like if you are not looking at every feature to work. So when I shoot people or fashion, anything that I shoot, I almost everything is on manual mode. I don't even use the TTL feature of any of these flashes because I would like to control everything manually. So only the focus works. Focusing is autofocus, but all my settings, be it aperture, shutter speed, all of these things are in manual mode. So if I'm working manually, there is an option of like you can sync any flash, so that wouldn't be a problem as such. Yeah, as Ranjit is saying, yes, line of sight is what is very important, so it will synchronize on its own. See, there's a question. Any specific softbox required? See, it really depends on what is the like effect or what is the mood that you're trying to create in the picture. So that's where I always say you first have to work on a story. So any fashion picture or let's say a commercial picture as such, what you see in as ad campaign, there is a story that we are trying to say. So the story dictates or the creative dictates what kind of lighting, what kind of softbox or what you want to do. So let's say if I want to have diffuse light, I would use softboxes. If I want something which is not really diffuse, but I want something which looks like daylight, sunlight, bright open light. So then I would use like a beauty dash. It really depends. It really depends on the image as such. See, light modifiers, there's a question about for Alien Chrome users. See, it's immaterial, like what brand of strobes you're using. That doesn't matter. See, every strobe that if you just look at a strobe, it's like a naked bulb. So it is very much like how you would see a bright sunlight. So it has specular highlights. It gives you shadows. So it's that is what natural light looks. So if you that's a reason, when I started the whole thing, I said first exercise as such you need to do is probably go out, spend a whole day shooting throughout the day and understanding the light. So that will give you an idea how it really behaves. So every manufacturer has a wide spectrum of modifiers, starting from let's say a simple reflector, like a 7 inches reflector, to huge softbox and huge umbrellas, and all kinds of beauty dishes, spotlight, these kind of things. So every brand has that. So depending on what effect you want to create out of images is what you really need to buy your modifier. So I would, probably generally for somebody who is looking out to start shooting fashion, I would recommend you should first explore with a beauty dish and a few set of umbrellas. So umbrellas creates that huge, flood of light which is diffused. So, and Beauty Dish has a very, unique lighting, which lighting effect on the models, and this is what that's why it is called a Beauty Dish. So, probably these are the modifiers I would ask you to venture out. Then you can add on soft boxes. Then you can add on, spotlights. It really depends on what your style really asks for. Yeah, and see, again, I have a question about for a full length picture, which softbox is advised. See, there is no particular, it's not like, you have a headache and you pop a crochet. So it really depends on what is the effect that you're trying to create. Let's say the same scenario where you're trying to shoot an e-commerce picture. So e-commerce demands, more diffused, soft kind of lighting. So I would, for a full length picture, I would probably use a, like a bigger softbox. The bigger softbox, the better. But when it comes to, let's say, if I'm shooting a beauty shot or a fashion shot, I might even shoot, bearable, which is just a, like a 7 inch reflector. So it really depends on what is it that you're trying to create. So in particular, if you ask me, like how do I create this kind of a picture, then I can probably explain, how that really works. So what I would probably now do is I will stop the slideshow. I will take one picture at a time and probably explain how it was shot. And to begin with, see also, we don't have to be always thinking that, more equipment, more, what do you say, more gadgets will get us great pictures. No, that's not really true. So a very minimalistic approach can also do. First explore one light and that can do wonders. One of the pictures, recently during one of my photography workshops, I was experimenting with V1. So V1 was just launched, the compact flash from Godox. So, and I was trying to shoot and see how we can explore this. I will show you that image, and you'll understand. It's not always lots of equipment that gets us great pictures. Just hold on. So this picture right now, what you are seeing on screen. So this is actually shot with what you see as like the glowing hair light that you are seeing on the model. Is this was shot outdoors, just outside on the street. You can see what you can see behind is also an image of a car just passing by. So this image, the backlight is done with a V1. So on the key light is I've used 8600. So 8600 is with a diffuser. The modifier that I'm using here is a beauty dish. So when you look at this image, you will understand how like a beauty dish really behaves. So you can see there's a nice jawline that it is defining. So that's a very particular important thing that defines the structure of the face. So this is how with light you're shaping and creating out of it. So once you understand what these diffusers or modifiers can do, then you know what you can create out of it. See, these are different tools for us to create our own recipes. So it really depends on what you're trying to create. So the same picture, let's say if I had used a huge umbrella, I wouldn't have had that, deep shadow that you see under her, like jawline. So I'm trying to define her face structure. So that's how, like a beauty dish is doing the job. And the warm light from behind. So that's creating that halo. See, I'm by using, like that ring light kind of an effect, I'm pulling the model out of the background. And also this is shot with, like higher shutter speed. So which is only possible with a combination of Godox lights. So where you're able to shoot on the, up to 8,000 of a second. So I think this was shot around 2,000 of a second or something like that. So that has created that separation. Yeah, Jitendra Sahu has a question. In HSS mode, does it affect the power of the flash? Yes, it does affect. It is not huge, but definitely, it loses a certain amount of output when you push the shutter speed. Yes, it does. So, okay, now let me go back and show you another picture. So this was also shot with the same series. So here you can see, like there's some light, which is fraying into the frame. So not always, like your challenges can be a hindrance. So this can work as an effect. So that gives you a feel that the sunlight is straying into the frame. So it's a similar setup. Again, like 8600 on a beauty dish, and V1 has a like a gold warm gel over it. So you with the V1 you get a um, set of gels or color correction or color enhancing gels that you can use to your advantage and see how you can work around with the light. So these are the two images. How to calculate the loss? See, you will have to experiment it. So you will once you start shooting, you will understand. So that is not really something very it is not mathematical. You don't need to mathematically understand it. So once you're out there shooting, you will understand what is the amount of light you lose. And typically, I feel like with an 8600, you are never underpowered. So, and one of the biggest, like launches that Godox is about to do is the 1200 Pro. So, which I'm very much looking forward to. 80 1200, like any kind of light condition, you should be able to underexpose the sunlight. Even let's say 12 noon, harsh summer, you can still kill it. So that's the advantage with these products. See, two aspects work with it. One is there is higher power in the flash, and the other aspect is HSS. So let's say typically we were like not able to shoot beyond 250th of a second with flash sync. Now you're able to shoot 8,000 of a second. Huge increment, and you get a lot of output out of that. So you don't have to really bother about that. Okay, so this question I have already answered. How to start, a career. So you don't have. Not everybody will have connections, and it will develop. See, today we are connected on the social media, be it Instagram, be it Facebook. So once you start, creating good pictures, the world is seen. So it all boils down to are you able to deliver? So if you really have the ability to create good pictures, definitely your network will build. It all starts with good portfolio. That's what I would like to say. Yes, definitely. See, when you are using a modifier, it has to, it will, like there's a certain amount of light will modify. So it will. See, if you are using a huge diffuser, let's say a soft box, a lot of light will definitely cut down. But if you are just using a open head, let's say a 7-inch reflector, then there's no difference in your light output. So that doesn't really change. Okay, now let me go back to a couple of other images. Okay, this is an image, which is shot. See, we have been discussing a lot about what lights to use, like how many lights to use and all of that. So, but this picture, when you really look at this, this was shot with natural light. So, daylight is what is used here. No, strobe lights or battery-powered strobes. So this is a simple picture. So it's not always about like using extra lights. It's also about how you can create images out of daylight. So this is a daylight picture, and not even a reflector was used. Naturally, the daylight was that's how it was. And here, one is definitely the lighting aspect of it. More so importantly is the composition and the angle with which you are shooting. So it doesn't have to always be, like you don't have to be shooting straight. So this is something right above, like I had to climb up a staircase and shoot from there. So images, it's about your imagination. So what I always recommend people is like first kicking the creative imagination. So if you can imagine in your head, that's where the images are made. Finally, what you see on your camera is something which you are, it's a final, reflection of what is happening in your mind. So create images, imagine that, and then you shoot. See, a lot of photographers, believe that shooting a lot of pictures will finally end up giving us, let's say, one or two good pictures. No, that's a very wrong approach. I call that as machine gun mode. Don't randomly click pictures hoping that there is a happy accident you will get a good picture. That never happens. So visualize your pictures. Imagine them before you actually click. Understand the way the model is going to pose. Visualize that part, and that's when you really go out and shoot. So, and typically, I don't shoot a lot of pictures. I shoot very few pictures, and I get the best out of that. So this will also, also boost a lot of confidence in the model. Model is more comfortable because you know what you want. So it's not like you're experimenting out there and you're trying to get pictures. Yes, there is definitely scope for experimentation, but it shouldn't be like you spend hours together just clicking thousands of pictures to get that accidental one good picture. So visualize that. Creative imagination is something which is our very vital tool. So we'll have to work with that. Lighting is definitely our most important tool. Light is probably the paint what for an artist is. So we like in literal sense we paint with light. So that's what makes us photographers. So get some inspiration. So before you head out to like becoming a let's say a commercial photographer or a fashion photographer, look up for great work by painters, artists, and photographers, and understand what's going behind the picture. There is always a thought. There's always a story. If you don't have that understanding, then you're randomly clicking. So that will just become very mechanical. So understand, and also you need to realize that you're an artist. So if you're not an artist, then there's no art. So that artist in you is more vital than anything else. The gadgets and all of these things can really happen later. Can we create above effect in full daylight and HSS? As I said, Badresh, this is a picture where I have actually not even used any light. So it is immaterial, in terms of like what flash or thing. Yes, see for a picture like this, there's no need. If you really look at it, you don't. I would not really use HSS because there is no need for that. So if your question is, let's say, if it is broad sunlight and can I create like diffusing background, or let's say like something background going out of focus? Yes, we can do that. Okay, let's go to the next picture. Yeah, you see, this is a very unique picture. Not many people would definitely recognize who the person is, behind the makeup. So this is, superstar Kamala Hassan. So this is a very unique picture that was created, and typically when you look at this image, I always have people asking me, "Is this all Photoshop?" No, there is absolutely, I would say, almost zero Photoshop in this image. The makeup took about 5 hours, and Kamal Hassan is someone who experiments so much and he's so passionate about his work. So the makeup took about 5 hours. Then we shot hardly for an hour, I guess. And this was absolutely, created in camera. So there is what you see, the background completely going dark and all of this was shot the way it is. So this is where, lighting plays a very important role. Like, people ask me, like, which is the best softbox I can buy, or which is the best diffuser I can buy. See, this is a single source again. One single light is what I'm using, and it's shot with a snoot. Snoot creates that, point light, which is the shadows are very harsh, and that is what is defining, the whole image and pulling out the entire background is because the entire background is not lit. It's like a spotlight on the face. So, so that's see, this is what your story. What is the story that I'm trying to say in the image is what really decides or guides what is the diffuser. What is the modifier you used on the light. So it's a single source light, shot with just a like a spot created through a snoot. Snoot is the modifier used in this image. Yeah, this is a, and also, I had the privilege that this was the first look of the movie. This movie was called as Uttama Villain. So this is the first look when they announced the movie. So this was the first image that the audience got to see, even before understanding or the title they could see. So this is particularly shot with that as an idea. So it's a story. So let's like any image, any picture is it's voiceless until and unless it has a story. So this is what it is. So I'll now go to the next picture. Okay, so here we are. So these are two images, shot in black and white. So I always have this, approach. See, how you light for, let's say, a color picture is not the way you would light for black and white. So there is a difference in terms of how you light. So when you look at these two images, there's a lot of contrast in the images. There's a lot of shadows. There's a lot of highlights. So and both images are not really very similarly lit, but the effect is around that. So the image of the model throwing her hair, that's a studio picture that's shot in the studio. So that was lit using a beauty dish. Beauty dish is the key light which is on her face. Then there is another open head. What is open head is like again it doesn't have anything apart from a reflector. So there's just a small reflector that is containing the light in one direction. So these are like typical example of where even harsh light can be made to use in a beautiful way. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to always look at how to diffuse light. There's a lot of people who prefer a lot of soft light or what we call as diffuse light. It's not necessary always. So the image on the right side, the model, this is shot on a location. So here, in fact, actually, I have used huge softbox. Two softbox I have used, and one softbox, and the light that you are seeing from the window that actually places the key light. So that is natural light. So this is a typical condition of mixed light situation. So, and what I've used on the left side, which is creating the definition of the body and the highlights. So that's using a huge softbox, but I'm not diffusing it again. So I don't have anything as the two panel diffusers. I've ripped it apart. So it's a huge source of light, but it has a lot of specularity to it. So it's not let's say hard as an open head, and at the same time it is not soft as a soft box. So this is where your imagination and the way you adapt and experiment with what you have. It doesn't have to see when you look at a product manual. You don't have to always use it the way it is supposed to be used. So you can use it in different imagination. See, that is the beauty of fashion. So this is one of the things I love about shooting fashion is like I always get to bend the rules. And, not necessarily that like you go by the rule book as such. And so this is what the image is. So any question on this? I can. Okay. See, I would not take up too much of these tech questions because what I am more focusing on today would be more to do with fashion and commercial stuff. And these questions will definitely be answered. Ranjit is going to answer those technical questions in terms of the product related questions as such. And I would stick to the creative aspect of creating pictures. And let me go to the next slide. Okay, this image is also a movie promo. So this was the first look of a movie promotional image. So this went on to be the poster or hoarding that could be used. So here also the story. So we are trying to create a story out of it. And here again there is this is shot with hard light. So there's two lights that I've used in this, and both are open heads. So there's a lot of shadow. There's a lot of highlights in it. So this shadow is something which brings in a lot of mystery in the image. So that's what I like about shadows is shadow will create that mystery to the picture. So wherein there is something which you are not, it is not revealing. So there is a lot, there's a curiosity. What is that? So that's what we create with light. So light we are shaping, and also we are creating the story out of light. So you need to understand one is shaping light, and one is one aspect of how to create a story out of using light. So here, when you look at them, obviously, this is again shot with a wide angle lens to create that, popping out thing, wherein it's into your face. So the criminals, obviously, what they're wearing tells us that these are criminals who are, convicted and they're in jail. So there is a story that we are trying to say with that. So that's what I'm trying to do with that. Okay. So I have a question from Sohail. So he says black and white photography, how did lighting in creative lighting? Yeah, see, as I explained in the previous slide, see, I'm experimenting there with lights. I'm not sticking to, let's say, even a softbox. Softbox typically is used with both the panels of diffuser on it, but I'm not using it that way. So I would say go out and experiment with these lights modifiers. So the first step, go out, shoot a lot of pictures without any flash or anything, using just the daylight. So master and understand that one source of light, work with that one light, and that will lead you to see. You should always add light. It is not like like I pile up a dozen of lights and then try experimenting. I would say start with sunlight, then add one flash to it. So probably a V1 or let's say an 8600. Experiment with it, and one point you will reach that you feel that okay, now I need to experiment with few more addition to it, modifiers with it. So that's when that's how you buy lights. Not just you have the disposable income, so you just go buy pile up equipment. I'm always against the idea of piling up equipment. So work with see, I always feel that limitations, or let's say limited resources, always an opportunity to be more creative. Take up these challenges. See, I have shot campaigns where I've approached it in a certain way where I say that I limit myself. I would use one light only and shoot pictures. That has turned out very creative. There's a lot of campaigns, entire, for a designer campaign, maybe about, 8 or 10 pictures, I would have shot with just one light. So experiment with limitations, then you can definitely see them. You will definitely need more lights over a period of time. There are situations where you will have to use more number of lights. So that will come over a period of time. Don't start off with huge amounts of equipment. Experiment with your creative imagination. Okay, I have a question from Santosh. He is asking about how to approach models, clients whether we have to pay them to build our portfolio or models have to pay for photographers, how to start an approach. Number one, see, as this I mentioned, when I started the session, you will have to see initially, let's say if you are an amateur, you can't approach a professional model and say that, pay me and I'm going to do a portfolio. Obviously, no. So if you are looking at building your portfolio, you will have to approach models who are also willing to experiment to get their pictures done. So typically, like if you want a good model, then definitely if she is a professional, you will have to pay her. So if you are already a professional and you are trying to experiment, then definitely even professional models would want to experiment. So it's a win-win. So it's more of what you can offer to a model, and that's how you'll have to work around that. Okay, I have a question from Pramod. Is there anything in the middle because there is only one side light on the face? There is no light on left part of face, which is actually coming on the people face who are standing on left and vice versa. See, this is just two lights. So as I said, when you look at um, look at the picture, you can see his nose is in shadow. So that clearly says that there is no light up front. So, so that showcases. So there's two lights. So open heads, which is both are side lights, and particularly, see, that was the idea. So I wanted that this is something when you look at it, it's a little unrealistic. Also, it is not naturally. This is not how we always look at pictures. So that is creating all the mystery. And as I said, these are criminals. So the more mysterious you make it, it's more intriguing. So that's how it is. I feel. Okay, now let me go to the next picture. See, these are the pictures which I like to share. Sorry. Okay. See, one of the pictures in this, the picture on the left-hand side of a model and a nice, beautiful sunset, and you see there's a water body, and a lot of these, it looks exotic, like a Hawaiian holiday picture. But trust me, this was just shot in a place called Lal Bagh in Bangalore. It is like any other, probably a nice park that you can look for. So it's about again visualization. See, if you can imagine a picture. See, I actually, this is the place where I used to go for a run in the morning. So I used to see this place every day, and I used to visualize this shot. So this is how I would, like I was thinking that I should make a picture. So this process of, finally shooting a picture starts way back. So it starts in your mind. So this imagination was always there. I was always visualizing that, during sunset, I would like to shoot a picture. So, and again, this picture is, as I said, a lot of pictures I shoot with one light. So this is one light. So one light shot, the modifier is a beauty dish. So beauty dish, that's what is the shot all about. So the picture on the right hand side, this is a water splash shot, and the model is actually, like you feel that she is flying in air. So this was also again, not a huge setup or anything. This was shot on my terrace. So this, like always surprises people. Like how you end up getting, So mundane things can always be very beautiful. It's about, see, this is where we become artists. So the creative imagination is what plays the most important role. So the model is actually, the way how she is able to jump so high is because I've used a trampoline. So she's jumping on the trampoline, and I had two of my assistants who were actually, like you'll probably be surprised. The water splashes created from, they're throwing water from a, two mugs of water from a bucket of water is what is creating the whole splash. So it was more to do with how you synchronize the whole thing. The people, splashing water, the model is jumping, and at the same time, I need to click. So this is how you had to create that synchronicity and get the picture. It's again, see, as I said before this was shot, I have visualized this image in my mind. That's what creates the picture. So technical aspect initially, it's like when you venture out as a photographer, you always feel that most of it is science. That's how it looks initially because the gadgets and the kind of equipment we use. There's a lot of physics, there's a lot of mathematics, all of this running. But trust me, initially when you venture out, it looks like 95% is techniques or 95% is to do with the science part of it, and 5% is art. But trust me, it's the other way around. 5% is probably the technical know-how, which you will learn over a period of time. Once you learn that, it is more to just update your information and knowledge about the gadgets. Then it becomes how creative, how artistic you are. See, one of the things that I always see with a lot of photographers, be it fashion photographers, commercial photographers, even wedding photographers, they end up creating one good recipe for themselves. So one comfort zone. Let's say I'm very comfortable clicking pictures with soft boxes, and I end up getting clients who also like those kind of pictures. And all your life you are in the comfort zone, you never venture out, you never like are. That's where the artist in you is killed. So I always experiment, and the experimentation can only happen when you are open to learning. So learning is an ongoing process. You can learn till you practice as a photographer. It's the process will never end. So every time I'm experimenting, every time I'm learning, every time I'm reading. So this is how you actually remain an artist. So be open-minded, keep experimenting. Don't get into sticking to a recipe that works really well to you. So one kind of lighting technique or whatever. Yes, you get a lot of clients and you are in that comfort zone. But the question to me is, am I an artist or I'm just a typical doing the job 9 to 5 job? So if I'm an artist, then I need to experiment. That experimentation, that creativity is what makes me unique, and that's what is my kick. So yes, definitely we all need to pay our bills, but at the end of the day, why are you an artist? You're an artist because you love to create. So the creativity is something don't have to restrict yourself to limitations. Okay, so let me go to the next picture. Okay, so I can tell us about couple portraits and wedding photo. See, couple portraits would be very different from, let's say, fashion and commercial photography as such. But your scenario, there's a lot of limitations. When you're shooting for fashion, or let's say I'm shooting for a campaign, I have all the luxury of time, as well as I can control my lights, I can control the whole scenario itself. So in a wedding scene, everything is really, everybody is, when the time is very limited, and let's say there's a lot of chaos happening in a wedding and all of that. So you'll have to be, you'll have to develop a, more minimalistic approach to it and have least equipment and work fast, and that is what really helps. So if you're shooting couple portraits, again, it really depends on what is the effect that you are trying to create out of it. Is it something like a soft, diffused image that you want to create, or let's say you want to create something like contrasty images? It really depends on that, and there is no, one, let's say a formula or let's say a recipe that I can really give you. So you'll have to experiment on that too. I'll now go to the next picture. See, these are typical, black and white pictures. So as I was, somebody asked me a question of how to light for black and white. And these two images, if I had, shot in color, it would definitely be something very passe. It wouldn't be something appealing at all. So here also, it's a simple, lighting that I've actually used. Both the images are, surprisingly natural light. There is no, studio flashes that I've used. It is just the backlight, and both the rooms, if you really look at it, are painted white. So it is bouncing back a lot of light onto the model. So that's creating that soft diffused light. So the background is overexposed at least about 4 or 5 stops. So that's what is creating that entire bleach effect to that. So it's about how you can innovate, how you can improvise the situation and create. So visualization, please develop the habit of visualization. See, one of the things that will probably really surprise you if I say this. Most of the time when I'm shooting between the shots, there's a lot of time. See, most of I wouldn't shoot more than 5 to 10 minutes once the model is ready, and at least I get like 45 minutes to 30 minutes breaks in between when the model goes and changes. And trust me, all I do is just sit down. I can sleep anywhere. I just take a nap, and trust me, this works wonders, because that is where like my subconscious is working on creating images. All my visualization happens when I'm in this spaced out space. So that's what helps a lot. So spend a lot of time visualizing. So deep within, you can imagine. That imagination is what is very much vital, and that is the biggest tool. And the rest of the equipment, all of that can happen, but creative imagination is something very vital that all of you have to develop. Okay, let me go to the next image. See, these two images are outdoor shots. So the image on the left-hand side is shot on my terrace again. So the model is actually standing on a step ladder. So that's what is creating the I'm getting a Dutch angle. So I'm shooting from below, shooting upwards. So and simple, the trace. Two of my assistants are holding it, and that's what has created that thing. So here it is about composition. So why have I used it that way is to create those dynamic lines in the image. So, and also when you look at the way the model is posing, there's a lot of, when you look at this image, there's a lot of triangles that I have created. So triangles create that dynamism in the picture. So see, these are all, to do with composition. So composition, lighting, all of these, these are all your tools that you'll have to, put in together and create a beautiful dish out of it. So that's what it's all about. And here again, it's one light. So I've just used 1200 output flash. This was shot around, I think, 4 or 5 o'clock when the sky was really beautiful. So the second image on the right hand side, this is shot post sunset, and that's how the sky, it's looking so deep blue, and the trees are going completely black. So again, one source of light, flash shot. The modifier is a beauty dash. So I'll go to the next image. How to set two different flashes, cool power. Okay, this Ranjit will take over and he will answer you on that. Thank you. Okay, these three images, this is what we call as beauty shots. So what are beauty shots is like particularly, let's say, where beauty shots applies in commercial photography. So let's say you need to shoot jewelry, you need to shoot a hair campaign for a shampoo, uh, like a like a fairness cream. All of these, this is what we call as beauty shot. Beauty shot has to do with the face, so face and the hair. So how you light again depends on what you're trying to create. So in this, when you look at the first picture, Yana Gupta wearing jewelry, that is shot with two huge softbox. I wanted a very diffused, soft look, and that's how it was created. The second image, which is in the center, so this is actually, again, for your surprise, it is natural daylight. So natural daylight, the glow that you see on the model's face is created not with any modifier. It's a simple mirror that a makeup artist used on location. So that mirror is reflecting the natural sunlight onto the model's face. See, these are all I would call this as a practical light. So where something you can always improvise, and if you are not restricted and deciding that I have to shoot a picture exactly like this. So if you are open to all kinds of possibilities, all kinds of happy accidents, so this is what it can get you. So the last image is shot with a huge beauty dish, a beauty dish which is 27 inches. It's a huge beauty dish shot in the studio with a black background. So here we are pulling the model from the background. So only the face is popping out. So that's what these beauty shots are. Okay, let me go to the next image. Okay, so I wouldn't spend a lot of time explaining this again. So these are again beauty shots. So when you look at these images, I've played with multiple lights. The first image of the model wearing white dress. has multiple lights in it. It's not just one light. It has multiple lights. So I've mixed in terms of like a beauty dash, open head. I play a lot. I love the shadows and highlights in it. So this creates a lot of definition and story around. So that's what I like about mixing lights, both soft lights and hard light. Okay, let me go to the next image. Yeah, see, when you look at these two images also, there's multiple lights used. Beauty Dash open head is what I have used in that, not very soft. And the first image probably had a umbrella. So umbrella which is actually lighting the onto the left side of the model. So these are again beauty and fashion shots. These two images were again shot in the studio. So the first image, something very unique about this is like not always you have to light. This is under lighting. So I've actually lit the model from below. So that is what is creating what you see on our girdle, the shadow here. So this is something very, like it's not very common to use in beauty shots. So, but this is where fashion gives me the like freedom to bend rules. So that's what I'm enjoying to enjoy doing in beauty shots and fashion photography as such particularly. And it's again the main source, the key light is which is below her, which is lit upwards, and there is backlight also. What the backlight is, what is separating the model from the background. You have a nice like highlight on her shoulders, so that's created from the backlight. And also what you see has that haze or background that has that smoky kind of a feel is created with a very simple the spray gun, water spray that the makeup artists use. So two of them are actually spraying from behind, and that's how you create. So you don't always necessarily have to have great gadgets or great like great gun equipment to create images. It's about your imagination. Can you really imagine? So with that imagination and limitations, you can create wonders. And the second image, what is very unique about this is when you look at it, the first question is how many big softbox have you used? What is this shot with, let's say, a huge umbrella like a brown color umbrella? No, it is actually just one light and absolutely no diffuser. The light open head is reflected, bounced onto the background, and as the background is white and the floor is white, and also my studio is white, everything is reflecting a huge amount of light onto the model, and that's creating that wraparound quality to the light. And this is what is making it. There's virtually no shadow that you really look at it. Very little thing. So that's creating a surreal, angelic feel to the image. Let me go to the next image. Guys, you can come up with your questions. I can answer them. Okay, see these three images. When you look at it, not a very conventional way to probably shoot models. So the first two images were actually shot on Fujifilm GFX 50 with a 23 mm lens. So 23 mm on a medium format is equal to 18 mm on the like a regular full frame DSLR camera. So extreme wide angle. So why am I using extreme wide angle to shoot fashion? So a lot of people always ask me the question like, do we need a 85 1.2 portrait lens to do good fashion pictures? Not always. I would say it's a great lens, but you can definitely experiment. I've even shot like fashion with fisheye lenses. So that's something you can create. So both were shot. One is a studio picture. One is just outside of my studio location shot. And the third picture on the right actually was shot on the street. So here also, when you look at it, you don't really need lots of lights. This is one light image, and fortunately that day, it rained. So what you're seeing on the floor is the reflection is created because of the water on the on the floor there. So you can always use like whatever is available. So there's improvisation, and everything comes at our disposal, and it can be used in a creative way. So that's what these pictures are. Okay, next slide. See, this is an image again shot with one light, a beauty dish, and I had a story to say. So, as I said, like every picture needs an inspiration or needs a story that we want to portray. So this is something, like as a little kid, I have always seen. I had this like video of Michael Jackson. And I'm not sure, I think black or white. I think that was a song where there's a Bharatanatyam dancer dancing on the streets of New York City. So this had left a very strong impression in my mind. So that the recollection gave me this idea that why don't I try something with a Bharatanatyam dancer shooting in a like a nice market space. So that's what led to this thing. So we're always, like there's an inspiration that is always running in our mind and our heart. So that's what we translate into images. So this is how I shot. And see, there's as I said, sometimes you have this happy accidents. So this kid who was behind, I never planned the shot, but this guy entered, and the awe that with which he's looking at the model or the dancer was something like priceless. So that was a right capture. So this is like very photojournalistic approach to it. So it doesn't have to necessarily be fashion has a certain definition, and let's say even wedding photography has certain definition. You can always cross these borders and create, and there's a lot of cross like um, in a way culture that we bring from fashion photography to beauty to all of this can be mixed up, and you can explore creating images. So ultimately it boils down to creating something unique. So that's what these are. Let me go to the next picture. So here we come to the commercial pictures. So these are commercial pictures which is used for campaigns, which we call as advertising photography also. See the difference probably from fashion to photography approach to, let's say, commercial photography is here the storyteller you're co-creating. So it's not just your imagination here. Also, before you would think about this picture, there's a creative director who thinks about, visualizes this whole campaign. So the story starts from an agency or a creative director, and there's also a writer for it. So they come up with the idea. Then we actually, there's the collaborate with the creative director, and it's his, image or visualization which you are actually bringing onto a picture. So there's a huge difference, and also before all of this, the creative director gets a brief from the client. So the client actually wants to sell a product. So commercial photography ultimately boils down to, does your picture help the product to be sold? So if we can increase the sales with your images, then you are a big hit. So the whole campaign revolves around, finally, can we sell? So that's what commercial photography is all about. So here, compared to fashion photography, I wouldn't say you have all that freedom to play with all aspects of photography, but definitely there is a lot of opportunity to do creative work. You can always add that extra to what what the creative director comes up with. There's a layout ready, but definitely you have all the scope to take it to the next level. So these two images, both were, the left side picture is shot in the studio. The Levi's image was, we created a set for it and then we shot. So it's controlled light. The first image has two lights. The second image of Levi's has one source light, but I have used softbox. But I've again, the light is kept below. So the light, that's how you create the shadows are seen behind. So that's how it does. And guys, you can ask me questions if you have any of that. I'll move to the next slide. Yeah, typical commercial picture. So here again, I've used a wide-angle lens to create that, perspective. The campaign was, like the small card. It was a launch of a small, smaller credit card, and we wanted to showcase that, like a small has all the big features in it. So we are packing in the whole world into one, small card. So that's what these wide-angle lenses, can create wide perspective into the images. There's also a movie promo. So this is again shot with a 16 lens. So this looks like a fisheye, but yes, I've used a 16 lens to create that perspective into the images. I've been very fortunate. I would really thank the people who have worked with, be it creative directors, be it film directors, be it designers, who have always given me so much of freedom to do what I really wanted to do. So here, the Ramesh Agrawal, the actor and director, gave me all the freedom. He said, like we need to create something, like which creates that wow. That was the brief, and I had the opportunity to shoot these pictures. This is a fashion picture, and as I said, like you just need to have a lot of open-mindedness, and you need to be open for things which just open up. See, this is actually before the shot, where the model was getting ready, the makeup was happening, and this happens to be the window of the makeup room, which was on the first floor, and I was shooting in the ground floor, waiting for the model to come, and she just peeped out looking for how it was looking. So it's a nice sky or whatever. So I saw that it was creating a nice image, and I asked the model to pose there, stop there, and I shot this picture. So here again, it's natural light. There's no light that's supplemental light used in this image. It's not a fisheye. The last picture that you saw was a 16 No, it's not a fisheye shot. Fisheye lens. So the first image that you see on the left-hand side, again, this was shot on Fujifilm GFX 50S 23 so which is equivalent to 18 lens. So I've used one light, which is on a reflector, not like a softbox or any of that, hard light. So one light source, and here the first image more to do with the lighting. It's more the composition that is creating the beauty in the image. The sky is way underexposed. See, this is where your HSS and your high output like a 8600 comes handy, and you can underexpose the daylight. So the second image on the right side, this was shot in a location in a restaurant. So there's two lights, one on a beauty dish, which is lighting the model, and one which is the background light. So I used a blue gel to create that blue background behind the greenery that you're seeing, the pots that you're seeing behind. See, location doesn't have to always be some exotic resort or an exotic, location. So this is this is shot. These images were shot for a designer. This was a campaign for a magazine. So this was shot, and very clearly it was a black and white thing. So this was shot in a like a house which is like about 80-year-old house, which is in the process of getting demolished. So I saw an opportunity that this place was beautiful to create um a story. So there's a contrasty story. So anything can be beautifully shot. It's about your visualization and how you really look at these images, and that's what creates beauty to it. Both are lit with strobe lights. So one has the backlight, and the other one is just lit on the face. So one has two lights, and the other one is one light. Both these images are, again shot on the same location. So one I have used a flashlight on the left side. The other one is natural daylight. So light is very soft and diffused in that. More to do with the composition. If you look at the way the dynamic lines are being used, so that's what is creating beauty in the image. Yeah, this is a commercial ad campaign. It's shot for a liquor brand. So here again, as I said, this is a creative director first visualizes this image, and then we finally, shoot this. So I had the liberty here. The wide angle was not part of the way it was first visualized, and luckily, I had a creative director who said, "Go out and explore." So I was able to explore, and this is shot on medium format and used a wide angle lens to get that perspective into the picture. This was a very big hit campaign long back. Lights, yes, there's multiple lights used, and I've also used gel on the lights here to create that mysterious look to it. So this is more like he plays portrays a role of a like a don. So that's what we're trying to create with these images. This is a situation where the diffused light, huge softbox light is used. See, one is the environment light, so the practical lights. So there's lights in the location itself. Plus, you add supplementary lights, be it strobes or any of this. So this was also very much a black and white campaign. So it was lit and shot to be a black and white image, shot on a medium format. These both images are more of a promotional picture. So one was shot, Deepika's picture was shot for editorial Diwali picture, and the image on right, Kamal Hassan's picture was shot for the first look of the movie again. So here, like when you look at the image, it's a story. He's a doctor and he has a fractured hand, and the way he's expressing also creates that fun and comedy part to that. So this is how you have to create and capture. So when it comes to fashion, people, photography as such, most vital is to capture that emotion. So how do you capture these emotions, or how does that really happen? One part of it is like directing your talent. The other is anticipating the action. So that's very important. See, once you start working with people, you realize and understand when this person is going to smile, how he's going to work with it. That emotion is what you really need to capture. If you miss out on that, all your techniques or whatever equipment, all of that is of absolutely no use. So you should be able to capture that moment. So that moment is what really portrays or says the story. Okay, I have a question from Somnath. The beer picture was a single shot. Yes, it is. It is the way you are looking at it is how it was shot. So, in terms of if you are saying the bottle is an insert. So initially that was not planned, and later on they thought that they should insert the bottle. That's how it was inserted. There was he was actually holding a dagger, so dagger on the table, and that's replaced with a bottle shot. So apart from that, there's no Photoshop. The background, everything is shot. So it is mixed lighting. There is also continuous lights used to light part of the scene, plus flashlights. See, these images are again for a designer. So when we shoot fashion, there's a lot of freedom, in terms of the designers. One of the very unique thing about this collection is you can actually style it the way you want. the bottoms can actually become the top, and top can become bottoms. So it's amazing. So this is for a designer, Chandrasekhar, who is a Bangalore-based designer under the label of Metaphor. So there's a lot of imagination, and he didn't give me a brief. He said, let's create pictures. So this was shot in a government primary school. So anything can be beautiful. This is what I have always believed, and it's about how you bring it to life, bring it to your imagination, and create something out of it. It was shot in a government school in the evening. Once, obviously, when the school was shut down, and I have used multiple lights. In fact. If you see, sometimes I don't even care about the Photoshop part of it. The first image, if you zoom in, you will see the cable also moving around somewhere. It's shot with, again, these are wide angle shots, 16 mm shots, 1635. This is shot with the Canon 1635. So shot at both the first two images are shot with 16 mm. The third image is probably at around 28 or 35. So that's what these images are. So these are editorial shots. So we are now particularly shooting for a magazine, and magazine has a story. Again, so it's the cover story. So you work around creating a cover story. So there's always a lot of adventure. See, the middle image Travel Plus that you see, this was shot in Mysore, and we were given the train stops for half an hour, and we had planned the shot half an hour. It was for an hour, and what was happening is the editor of the magazine is sitting in Delhi, and we are shooting in Mysore, and the client, KSTCDC, which is the Karnataka Tourism, the director is sitting in Bangalore. And what was happening is I was shooting the picture with a brief from the editor from Delhi, and the editor has to get a like a clearance from the client who is sitting in Bangalore, and we have 1 hour. So I shoot a picture, send it to Delhi, and they send it to the client. The client again reverts back, and then we finally take a decision on that. Somehow we were, finally there was like a 50-50 approval, but we were still shooting, and trust me, the train started. And me and my assistant, with the model, the train has started, and we are jumping into the train with all our equipment. The soft boxes, we're shoving into the train. It was fun. And finally, we got an approval. See, we couldn't, come back again to shoot. That was so the situations are always challenging, but it also comes with a lot of fun. So if you look at it more like fun, then it's going to be fun. If you look at it as difficulty, then you're not enjoying it. So I always say that you should really enjoy. You should celebrate your shoots. That's when creativity comes in. So creativity happens when you are enjoying it. Go to the next images. See, this is a like a classic example of you don't have to be always restricted when you're shooting commercial pictures. There's always scope for creating something out of it. So the halo feel that you see on the glow in the model, not the model as in in the protagonist of this image that you see on the ground, there's a lot of glow that is happening. So that was more of an accident. See, we initially when I started lighting up, this is shot in the studio. The background, whatever you're seeing, so it's all set up in the studio, and we were shooting. So again, I was using like a spotlight kind of a thing because I wanted to create that theater kind of lighting. So it has to be realistic. So this is where your creativity and your technology, how much of technique you have, how much you have mastered your light comes in the picture. So theatrical lighting is they always are using hard light. There's no diffusers and modifiers in a theater. It is more most of the time they're using hard light. So I was creating that, and it was reflecting back. So instead of cutting it, I shared with the creative director. I said, "This is something is making it look very unique." So the creative director was very adventurous on that, and he said, "Let's go with it." So sometimes it works. So you will have to be open to creating things. And when we started the campaign, the layout had only one talent in the picture. And that day it was, as I said, if you are not having fun, you're not doing your work. So that day we just experimented, the makeup artist or the theater person who had come to help us with this had another set of costume. So a women's costume was already there, and you'll not believe, if you zoom this picture, you will see the lady that you see on the right hand side. You will see, that the person has a lot of hair on the hand. So it's a guy. So he happens to be a good friend of mine who was hanging around that day for the shoot. So we said, why don't you wear it? So then we just experimented few shots as let's have some fun. So, and finally, the client also loved this picture. And instead of having one model in the picture, we had two. And, that's what created the whole fun in the picture. So this is how, you have to be open and, always wanting to create something unique. So that gives you a lot of scope. So be it fashion, be it commercial photography, you have a lot of scope to create on that aspect. Let me go to the next image. These are editorial fashion images shot for a magazine cover, as well as for a cover story as such. So this is shot with an actress, Ragini Trivedi. This is shot in UB City. So using ambient light, available light, what we call as practicals, plus softbox. Both these shots were shot with one light softbox. Ranjit, I need to know, we are already, way ahead of our planned 1 hour session. So do we stop here? It's already 7:20. Should I continue? Please let me know on this because I can go on forever. Okay, these are images shot for a designer, more of a editorial approach to these images. Shot on location. In particular, I would want to talk about the image in the center. So it has again, a spotlight kind of an effect in the chair. So this is again, we never expected. There's a mirror behind, so that's reflecting back. So I said this is looking beautiful rather than moving the mirror or trying to cut it off. So we used it to our advantage and created that spice in the image. The next image. There was a commercial campaign for a builder. So Jackie Shroff is a great actor, and I've always seen that good actors are great models. So they pose amazingly well, and it's always fun to work with someone who is really professional. Next image. This image was shot for a campaign again for a garment brand. So this is again, like mixed lighting. So one image has magenta tints that you see in the background. So that's created by simple change in the color balance of the raw image. Just hold on. I'll move to the next slide now. Okay, so we're talking about fashion and commercial. So these are away from both of that, and these are portrait pictures. So portrait versus fashion, the difference is portrait is more journalistic in approach, more focus on the story. So these two images had to say a story. So the right side picture of Ram Gopal Verma. So my idea of photographing him was I wanted to create the creator of Sarkar. So I wanted to have that feel of Sarkar in the image, and that's how we worked on this. I hardly shot for about 10 minutes, I guess, and he simply loved this picture, and this picture has now gone on to become the cover picture of his biography, which is due to release soon. Okay, so we have there's a lot more images that I have to run through, but we'll give another 10 or 15 minutes on this. And if you don't have any much questions, we will call it a wrap. And let me just run through the images quickly. So these are pictures shot of people again, portraits. So this is a sari campaign, so where you are showcasing the sari, and again, it all relates, revolves around does it appeal to the audience or the final customers to buy this? These are the beauty and fashion shots of an actress shot for an editorial campaign. So you're showcasing beauty, you are showcasing uh, more like portfolio, taking it to the next level. So thank you so much. It was so I here come to the end of the session. So now we'll keep it open for questions in case you have any particular questions to do with any of my images. We could discuss, be it lighting, be it composition, anything to do with the commercial aspect of it, and also if you have questions about in general about photography, we can address it now. I guess we don't have any questions as such, so I think we'll wrap up the session. So, guys, it was lovely sharing my work with you. So, hopefully, we reconnect soon. And thanks a lot, Godox India, for getting me onto this live streaming session. Guys, during this quarantine, I would say spend a lot of time in positive thoughts, and spending time on visualization, creating. Like you can learn a lot using the internet, and a lot of time you can spend on creating the image in your head, and which you will finally like create on film, or let's say with your camera. And have a like a safe quarantine. Take care. See you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ganesh. It was a pleasure. Thanks, Ranjit. We'll wrap up. Thank you.